What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wizards Outlook. We got Raymond Lyons here, Carlo Dudley Jr., Wilson Tucker, the Washington Wizards. Hosted the Detroit Pistons tonight. They dealt with Cade Cunningham for all about 5 minutes. He took a spill and left the game with back spasms. Jalen Duren, Cardell, you talked about him pregame. Those two fellas, positive for Washington. You only had to deal with one of them. Obviously, hopefully, Cade's okay, recovers quickly. That said, Duren, 36 points, 12 rebounds, 1 block. The boy went to the line 11 times, missed one shot. That's big. It just looked easy the entire night. It took into like the fourth quarter for Washington actually got, like a block or stripped them anytime into the basket. And the crazy part was, as much as he wanted the basket, it wasn't for overtly physical finishes, just routine layups, just unbothered, walking through other grown men. But we saw Washington fight back. Love Carrington. It took a little bit. Looked like he started to deal with the physicality from the Pistons a little bit better. He fought back in a great way, finished with 30. But, Ray, we'll start with you, Nick Cornell. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this one. Pistons showing why they're atop the East. Missing an MVP candidate in this one. And still walk out with a dub.
Yeah, man, that was it was huge the way they were able to still control the game, even without Cade for most of it. But yeah, like you pointed out, Jalen Duren. I mean, he's every time they played the Wizards, he's imposed his will in the game, and he did that again tonight. Mainly in the third quarter when Detroit really started to break the game open. 10 points in that quarter and didn't miss a shot. So yeah, that's that. The Wizards just aren't able to deal with his physicality on the inside, especially when they were big deficient in this game, and he's already tough to deal with if they were 100%. But without their full roster, it was writings on the wall. Bub he tried to counter him. He had a great game. Like you said, finished with 30 on efficient 12 of 16 from the field. But, as always, the Wizards, they were very handsy, put the Pistons on the line 32 times. Detroit, they were even more impressive without Cade. They had 31 assists on 46 made field goals. So offense was still running. They didn't miss a beat. And yeah, in the second half, they just kind of, wrapped their arms around the game and ran away with it. It's basically the same formula for the Wizards. Like, they'll keep pace in the first half, and things will slowly start getting away from them at the end of the second quarter. Then the other team comes out in the third quarter and pretty much pulls away, and they're just not able to recover. So yeah, man, we know what it is. 16-51, and playing against one of the contenders coming out the East. So this was pretty much a foregone conclusion. But as always, they got to manage those situations better than that.
Cardell.
Yeah, obviously Jalen Duren was dominant, but I feel like the Pistons reserves were the real difference in the game. They really dominated, led by Denise Jenkins. He looked like we got to put him on the list as one of them players that love to see the Wizards. He goes to work every time, and I think he's kind of motivated because a couple players on the Wizards were drafted ahead of him. So he always trying to, leave a impression, so to speak, kind of show everybody they made a mistake. But 15-7, he stepped right in for Cade when Cade went out, ran the show beautifully. Caris LeVert, we already know he's a bucket vet, 10, 3 and 3 off the bench. Holland, talked about him in the pregame as well. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, doing what he does, 4 or 5. And then Paul Reed, 10 and 4, taking advantage of their size, inside. The not just the height, but the physicality, the bulk that they have as well. You know what I mean? And Jalen Duren just a grown man, and you put a team out there with a bunch of wings and guards, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. He gonna dominate. 13-12 on 13-17. I mean, enough said. 10-11 from the free throw line. Pretty much sums up the game. Like, too little. Get some bigs up in here. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what all it was. Tobias Harris, I felt like, also contributed to just being a secondary playmaker, secondary ball handler, to help Denise not feel over pressure. And he has 6 assists. He was tied for second in the game with 6 assists, man. No turnovers, 12 points, 5 rebounds, just a solid all-around game. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do too much because Doran had it cooking and the reserves had it cooking. So all he had to do was just take what was there and just be a pro, just keep playing chess. But the bench point, 62-35 Detroit. I mean, you get outscored by 30 off the bench. You already wounded. You small, dealing with a monster inside. What more else is there to say? And then they were also outscored 68-44 in the paint. And about half of that was Doran. So there you go.
Sometimes 1+1 is 2. It's that simple. You guys laid it out. There's not much to add. I would say I agree with you, Carter, wholeheartedly with Jenkins. I thought him and Sasser, when they came in, they really changed things for Detroit. Both of them, not even for me offensively. I know they both contributed, but they had 24 together offensively. But I just thought what they did defensively really kind of helped them build that lead. And it really, they really had the Wizards guards just bothered for a couple quarters. And then we saw again, I give credit to Bob, we saw Bob kind of come back down, and then he got to it in the fourth, ended up with 30, obviously. But those two were held defensively. Just picking them up full court. I know one sequence I can't forget. Jenkins picks up Detroit scores. Jenkins picks up Cooper full length of the court. Cooper's a small, quick guard. Turned him 5 times. Cooper finally gets a little bit of room to get downhill, and Jenkins gets to block himself. Those two were terrorizing folks on the defensive end. And mind you, even if they get beat, who's down in the paint. But they were doing it themselves. Took some pride in it themselves for most of the game as well. But player of the game for you guys.
Awesome.
That was easy. How about X for after that?
I mean, I'm gonna go with Denise Harris. I'm gonna go with Denise Harris now.
I went with Denise Sasser, so whichever works. Again, it was impressive just to see their depth. Again, Cade plays 5 minutes, and as you mentioned, Cardell, you said Harris had 6 assists. Ray, you brought up they had 31 assists as a team. The ball was still moving, and you were missing the MVP candidate at the point. Cardell took his time during pregame, talking about all the different ways how Cade impacts the game, and he played 5 minutes.
But you know what people gonna say? It's the Wizards. You know what I'm saying? So, but it should give them a little bit of confidence. I'm talking about the Pistons moving forward, where it's all right, if something does happen to him, we know how to play without him and try to get the job done. And it starts with Doran stepping up, being all-star, doing what he need to do, just dominating, being a beast. Going Moses Malone mode. Let me get that 2020, that 2015. You know what I'm saying? If not more, you know what I mean? And just then y'all can feed off what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So on the Wizards side, man, it is what it is, man. They got an interesting off season coming up. That front court, they gotta get some bigs, man. They got the wings and the guards. They need some size up front.
It's becoming very clear where their focus needs to be. Very, very clear. They got the Pistons again in 48 hours. 48 hours after that, they got the reigning champs in the building. If Washington was bothered tonight by the ball pressure, it only ratchets up from here. Got Detroit again, and then Dort and company come Saturday. So that should be fun. But we'll check in with you guys Thursday for Wizards pregame. Wizards Outlook. Good evening.